a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman.
64.
Boo!
Making the perfect Superman game. Obviously, I don't mean an actual perfect game. I'm only aiming for an idea for us to finally have a good Superman game. So let's get into it. The main problem, or where most of the development difficulty will come from, is that Superman is very, very strong, borderline invincible. When the guy you're playing as is basically God mode enabled by default, there will never be a true sense of progression. And I think that's true. There's no way to make a combat-focused, action-heavy Superman game that won't just end up feeling like you're playing an episode of One Punch Man, or a game that has to resort to treating Kryptonite like it's available at any Dollar General for $2.99. So I think the only way to make a good Superman game with any sense of progression is to actually go the narrative-focused route and take us back to the very beginning, before there ever was a Superman. Because the problem with Superman is actually Superman himself. People find Superman to be a boring character. He wins fights because he punches harder than you can punch him. And for some people, he has the same personality as a wall that you just painted white. But that's because most people don't understand that Superman is the end result, not the basis. Clark Kent is where all the struggles happen. Clark Kent is where he gained his humanity. We have to see him struggle with his powers, his relationship with his parents. You gotta take us back to the farm in Kansas. Let us become Superman with Clark. So I think starting with the young middle school Clark, and then jumping to an older, recently graduated Clark, contemplating leaving Smallville and heading to Metropolis to study journalism. Obviously, young Clark doesn't have a full grasp of his abilities, and even if he did, he has to keep them a secret. So you can have a decent amount of time with Clark just being able to just walk around, go to middle school, and you can show that he gets his sense of patience when he has to learn how to not Mr. Incredible AV jerk bully. And then I want them to start building the foundation for his close relationship with his father. Also, while we're at this young age, there is one relationship of Superman's that I want changed, and I want to explain why I think it should be introduced here. And that relationship is actually between Superman and Jimmy Olsen. I feel like a comics accurate Jimmy Olsen, much like a young Robin, is just too hard for some people to take seriously in the modern live action era. I'm pretty sure that's the reason Zack Snyder made him a CIA operative and then just iced him immediately in Batman vs. Superman. He gave a single moment of coolness to a character he probably thought was a dork. I think laying the groundwork for a relationship between Clark and Jimmy Olsen when they're young is a good way to avoid that. Jimmy can be a young, abrasive kid who doesn't bully Clark, but definitely doesn't go out of his way to be friendly with him. Eventually, he ends up putting himself in a super dangerous situation and miraculously survives. He doesn't know for sure what happened, but all he knows for sure is that the only one around that could have helped him was Clark. And then you lay little baby steps of the idea that a friendship might be possible between the two, so that when we jump to the recently graduated Clark, you can show that he and Jimmy did become best friends since the last time we saw them. Jimmy became a photographer. He tells Clark he's planning on heading out to Metropolis. And this is when Clark first contemplates about doing the same. He talks to his parents, and they tell him that if he's going to go, he deserves to at least see the rocket that he arrived in before he does. So he gets to see the rocket, he opens it up, and then a scanner activates and scans Clark and starts creating the first Superman suit for him. Obviously, Clark doesn't want to be Superman yet, so it'll just be a cute joke about his parents saying, oh, the machine made Clark some space pajamas or something, and Clark puts them away for now. And now that we've been building that tight bond between him and his parents, I want the game to do something that I think is essential to what makes Superman who he is. Pa Kent needs to die of a heart attack. To me, one of the core tenets of the Superman character is that even a godlike being like him can't save everyone. So he needs to focus on the people he can save and be thankful for the people he did save. With the death of Pa Kent, Clark will have one final heartfelt conversation with his mother, and he'll tell her that he has thought about using his powers to save lives, but once he does it, he knows his life will never be normal again. So he decides that he wants to go to college for journalism first, one last attempt at being a normal person. And if he still feels the same way when he's done, he'll reveal himself to the world and help people. Now, the final chapter, we're after college. Metropolis is a more open world than the previous 2 chapters, and Clark is a recent hire at the Daily Planet after his graduation. And an unnamed Superman is making his grand appearance in Metropolis today. You'll be flying around doing basic hero stuff, because you're the first hero ever. You don't have anything to super punch yet. But your existence angers not only the military, but a genius named Lex Luthor whose vision for the human race doesn't include any supermen. Lex Luthor's military-approved shenanigans will provide most of the action from this point on, and he is the final boss of the game. Throughout these mostly one-sided battles against Lex Luthor, news of the Superman starts to spread across the world. Mama Kent sees the video of Superman's debut in her home, and she smiles. A few encounters with Lois Lane will set the stage for the future interactions between those two. And then it ends with Clark at his desk at the Daily Planet writing some boring story about sports or something when Jimmy Olsen makes his reappearance, and the final conversation in the game is between the two, where Jimmy implies that he knows who the hero in town really is and approves of the Superman name that they've given him. You know, I feel like the actual idea I'm pitching here is a Superman trilogy. Like, I want a game about the rise of Superman so that people give a crap about Superman as a character and stop calling him lame and boring. And then, I do want a game about Lois and Clark and a bunch of the Rogues Gallery, but only after the story has earned the right for Superman to be so overpowered. And then, you can end it all with some hybrid of All-Star Superman and the death of Superman. Does anyone even want a narrative-driven Superman game? Or do I just sound crazy right now? Let me know by leaving a comment. And if you click like and subscribe and you hit that bell, you're totally invited to my Justice League themed birthday party. In Man of Steel, Pa Kent didn't want Clark exposing his abilities in front of a bunch of people. So he decides that he will go save their family dog himself. That scene could have worked for me if he didn't make it in time and died tragically with the family dog. But he totally makes it, and literally only dies because he's a chump who ran to the right side of the car instead of just opening his driver's side door that was not only closer from when he started running from, but would also be the safer and less likely to be crushed by the cars on the right side of the road. If Old Man Kent could make it to that car, anyone could make it to that car. So how would a casual light jog have exposed Clark? My guy died for nothing. The only thing Clark learned that day is that the Wizard of Oz was not lying about the strength of them Kansas winds.